You'll reach the top somehow.
Okay, my Straight Dog family, let's keep moving on. And let me just say good night to the entire Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Let me say good night to the entire Eastern Caribbean region. I will reach as far down south, even on the mainland, there in Guyana, Venezuela, as far down south as Trinidad and Tobago, come all the way up to Barbados, Grenada, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines. And my Straight Dog family, how is Martinique and Guadeloupe, Antigua, Barbuda, and did I forget someone? Down there? No, I did not. I think Grenada. Did I get Grenada? Yes. And next door, St. Martin and St. Eustatius, Sable, St. Bart, Anguilla. Going down to the British Virgin Islands, St. John, Antigua, Tortola. How is the U.S. Virgin Islands and St. John and St. Croix? We have you covered all over the world. What about What about my Straight Dog family, the diaspora? Salt Lake City is in the house. I know there's a special lady from Missouri in the house. There's my brother there in Germany in the house. What about the UK? The UK is in the house, United Kingdom. Yes, we have Europe, we have Africa, Asia, and North America as well. So I can say good night, I will say good morning, and I will also say good afternoon, because one of such greetings will be applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. And for those who are first-timers, we always give a special welcome to our first-timers. And just to inform you first-timers that Straight Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes all issues of national interest, beg your pardon, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Straight Talk, you do have a forum to express yourselves freely. Let us in the process try our utmost best to get St. Kitts and Nevis to that enviable position, back to that enviable position of being number one or maybe one of the freest countries in the world. We'll have to do a lot of work on our leaders first of all. But my Straight Talk family, on this program, we try to raise the level of national consciousness. We try to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. My name is Ian Patches Liburd, and I thank Almighty God for blessing me with another opportunity to join you in conversation on yet another occasion. And as your host, I remain an untiring advocate of truthfulness. As Straight Talk family, one of our standards, our main standards, is at all times to share the truth. Nothing is watered down in any way, whether by omission or exaggeration, to make it interesting. We're not that kind of program. But I consider it my duty to always present the unvarnished truth about governance in my country. I want to hail the young brigade, Tristan, Shama, Kevin, and all the young brigades of Straight Talk. And I must hail a special lady in St. Louis. Tonight, our observations. We do have our observations in review. And just for information, our thesis is titled tonight, Stop Blame Game, Start to Govern. But before we enter or we embark upon our thesis, discussion of our thesis, we always consider our observations in review. As the time when we highlight the issues of the day and we do some reflection, we may then ask a few questions such as what was accomplished, how has it helped others, what has changed since, and what can be expected next. Also, what new we have learned as a people. And there are lots of issues or observations. We can spend a night on those observations, as a matter of fact. Because someone calling on the CBI program called their name and got no response. But that's the character of the leaders, or leader in particular, which we have come or grown accustomed in short order to know about. And his name is Dr. Drew. He bashed the former administration, campaigned to get rid of them. But everybody has concluded that, in colloquial parlance, Abba no better than Saba. Many look to Dr. Drew to demonstrate leadership with integrity. They expected someone who says what he means, keeps his word, and does not lie to his people. For example, we have been raising the issue of procurement for several months on Straight Talk, but really to no avail. Remember, it was his chief legal advisor, Garth Lucian Wilkin, who spoke eloquently about the rule of man. Remember, he said this very early in his tenure by Straight Dog family.
We are at a proverbial fork in the road in our history. And to lead that charge, lead that change, lead us down the right path is the member for St. Christopher A. That is why he appointed me to be the anti-corruption minister. I am the anti-corruption minister. Let the people in this country know. Let it be known that this, the people's government, does not tolerate and will never tolerate abuses of the treasury by anyone. A new day and a better way is upon us. The people have asked for openness, fairness, accountability, and good governance from the people who sit on this side. That time is now to this country. Madam Speaker, I am proud personally to be a man of action, not one who just likes to bang his mouth. I can beat my chest and boast that I am a hard worker.
And yes, I Straight Dog family. Garth Lucien Wilkin threatened, recall, to introduce the 70-30 rule of public embarrassment. He said this as well pretty early in his tenure.
I might be publicly embarrassing some people, which might actually be worse than going to prison. I'm contemplating whether I should do that, and I'm minded more so about 70-30 to embarrass some people who might not have been corrupt, but were, I don't want to use the word I used earlier, but not very friendly towards our treasury, and I'm not going to tolerate that, and I'm going to embarrass some people.
And that's what he called the 70-30 rule of public embarrassment. But Garth Lucien Wilkin also gave us several lectures about integrity and forewarned us that the crooked will be found out, to use his words. He said the crooked will be found out by Straight Dog family. Here's what he said.
And I believe that it's important to know that no true leader, no leader that excels in a leadership role can do so without integrity. And what is integrity? It's the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. Honesty, sincerity, strong moral principles, making decisions for the greater good, not for personal needs. These are the key elements of integrity. Whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but he who makes his ways crooked will be found out. Amen.
And so let it be. It was not too long thereafter before the country found out about the crooked ways of Garth Lucien Wilkin. We referred to the ongoing work on the Robert L. Bradshaw Museum that continues apace, even in the face of much criticism from right-thinking persons. There has been a serious variation in costs. The estimated $4 million has been increased by 100% to $8 million. But there was no procurement. There was no procurement. And what did Garth Lucien Wilkin tell us about that? What did he tell us about procurement, my Straight Dog family? Very early in his tenure as well.
Procurement Act has been breached left, right, and center. I've seen one contract, no procurement. The contracts that I spoke about in my press release, no procurement. People need to know these things because it's their money. The treasury is not my money, it's not your money, it's everybody who pays taxes. So we are custodians of the people's money, so we have to protect it.
And yes, my Straight Dog family, the breaches of the Procurement Act, they continue unabated and in such a reckless manner under this new Labour administration. The latest breach of the Procurement Act concerns the purchase of water storage tanks by this administration. And we were informed about that just by the way, my Straight Dog family. casual notice given by Dr. Jew. He said this.
We have sent the fire truck, we have sent the water truck. We continue to send the fire truck, we continue to send the water truck. We have just signed a contract to purchase water storage. So at least when the water truck goes, they have a larger receptacle to store the water. People are having serious challenges. I would also like to thank Mr. Ashley Allers, because he's the one who brought the idea of how we can help with the storage receptacles that we're going to launch just now. That took a little bit longer because I had to go through the procurement process and so forth for transparency and so forth. But that is another matter another aspect that we have brought to bear to deal with the issue in terms of getting larger receptacles. And when we have more water, those will be set up completely so that people can have proper storage.
What procurement process and so forth, we ask? And what transparency, Dr. Jew? There was no procurement process, but a contract for US $5.8 million was signed, and there was no procurement. In accordance with the law, the methods of procurement are clearly stipulated. And which law, you may ask, my straight dog family? It's the Procurement Act, which is quite clear. And the Act also stipulates, my straight dog family, the Act clearly stipulates the methods of procurement, my straight dog family. I have posted them for you. And the methods of procurement are pellucidly clear. Section 10, subsection 1, it reads, and you can read along with me for yourselves. A procurement shall be made by one of the following methods of solicitation. A, tender, which shall be done by either 1, competitive seal bids, or 2, by competitive seal proposals. B, sole source procurement. C, emergency procurement, beg your pardon. And D, by competitive quotations. And it goes on about sole source procurement and solicitation and so on. And it explains in section 11, subsection 5, what are the sole source procurements and the emergency procurements, my straight talk family. But it speaks as well to the notice of solicitation, which too is very clear. And the notice of solicitation, subsection or section 13 of the Act, it says subject to section 16, the procurement officer shall, an underline shall ensure that notice of A solicitation for a procurement by tender, or B, an invitation to pre-qualify for a procurement by tender is given in at least 2 newspapers of general circulation in the Federation, no less than 6 weeks before the date and time for the close of bids or proposals or invitations to pre-qualify as the case may be. My straight talk family, it goes on to speak about details of the submission, my straight talk family. It goes on to speak about details of submission and content of bids to be prescribed, as it says, my straight dog family, in section 14. And it then continues, my straight dog family, the opening of bids and proposals. And it's very clear. It says, subject to section 17, all competitive seal bids and competitive seal proposal submitted by tender shall, underline shall, no discretion whatsoever. It must be opened publicly by the procurement officer on the day, at the time and place specified in the invitation to bid or request for proposals, as the case may be, my straight dog family. I provided that information just to confirm that this is daylight hypocrisy. The daylight hypocrisy of Dr. Drew, also his chief legal advisor, Garth Lucian Wilkin, who said that it's a crime to spend money from the treasury without the procurement process being completed. He said that. I didn't say that. The Attorney General said this.
Our Procurement Act requires that there be a competitive bidding process to ensure the government gets value for money, and it makes it a crime to spend money from the treasury without the procurement process being completed.
A crime. That's what he said. But, my straight dog family, we know what the High Court judge said about the Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin. In his own transgression of the law, the High Court judge said it constituted a criminal offense. So we ask, we all can ask, is how, my straight dog family, we all can ask, is how can Satan correct sin? How can Satan correct sin? So for Dr. Drew to come to the country and said he signed a contract for the procurement of storage water tanks, and the contract was awarded to Ashley Allers, then we need a lot of more explanation, my straight dog family, because the Procurement Act is pellucidly clear. My second observation, my straight dog family, relates to the MRI machine. Because since 2021, December to be exact, since 2021 in December, the Parliament, my straight dog family, approves funds for the procurement of an MRI machine. The Harris-led Team Unity Administration declared its intention to purchase a brand new MRI machine in 2022. This was the then Minister of Finance and Prime Minister making his presentation in Parliament.
We will provide new diagnostic services with the introduction of a new MRI machine to be installed at the JNF General Hospital for the first time. The necessary technical personnel for the efficient and effective operation of the MRI machine are all proposed for funding in 2022. So this then will be a significant transformation in the delivery of healthcare. Long in coming, but it is now will be there in 2022. Before us, it never was. Team Unity is now making it happen.
My straight dog family, when the administration changed in August 2022, Dr. Drew tried to usurp ownership of the MR machine idea. Weeks after assuming office, he said this, my straight dog family, in early September 2022.
Promised an MRI. We have already paid down for the MRI. So right now the MRI is being built.
Okay.
Yeah, it's being built already. So when it's completed, it will be shipped to St. Kitts. It will take some months to build. So we will have that.
My Straight Dog family, he doubled down on the lie in his independence address on September 19, 2022. He said this:
Your government is now just 1 month old, and we have been working extremely hard to fulfill the pledges and the covenant we have made with you. A new modern MRI has been ordered for the JNF General Hospital.
But after 1 year, we asked the question, straightforward question: where is the MRI machine, Dr. Joe? And we asked the follow-up question: are you now negotiating a used MRI machine as you did in the case of the 15, 20-year-old dialysis machines? We cannot put that beyond you, Dr. Joe. But the country needs to know, Dr. Joe, where is this MRI machine which was approved by the Parliament since December 2021 and funds were allocated for the fiscal year 2022, last year. My third observation relates to Dr. Jew and his cabinet, who all got caught trying to sneak in an 85% salary hike, which was so insensitive, my Straight Dog family, so insensitive at a time like this, when the minimum wage has not yet been addressed, when bus drivers are struggling to cope with increased operational costs. Additionally, thousands of poor people have been displaced from the poverty alleviation program, and the cost of living is constantly rising. In no uncertain terms, members of the Jew cabinet made their intentions clear when Minister Marsha Henderson declared her support for an increase. She was the first one to declare publicly her support.
Are we planning to also raise the minister's salaries to discourage the corruption? Minister Henderson?
That's above my pay grade. But I'm hoping that the ministers can in fact get an increase in salary. It's something that I would not be opposed to.
Jeffrey Hanley tried his endeavor best to justify that increase. Jeffrey spoke to the raise of pay.
And if I can interject just before the AG, in 2021, when I had the opportunity of participating in the budget of the former administration, I must say to us here tonight that there was an allotment of 85% increase in the budget of that year for parliamentarians. So it was already on the books. So I think the AG going to say something.
Well, the AG did say something. Garth Lucian Wilkins' rationale advanced in support of the 85% increase to ministers left the Federation baffled, as certainly he said, with no uncertainty, that they are all not paid well and can be easily bribed. How else can anyone, my Straight Dog family, how else can anyone interpret this response to the question, coming from Attorney General Garth Lucien Wilkin. He said this.
In order to discourage ministers being corrupt, they should be paid well. Yes, you're doing a public service. However, you should be able to take care of your family. But it should also be reasonable so that you can satisfy your obligations. And when the person comes with the potential bribe, you can tell them, no, I don't want that.
My Straight Dog family, my final observation, I believe that I speak on behalf of my entire Straight Dog family when I say congratulations to Commissioner James Sutton and his entire police force. Also to Commander Colonel Cumry of the Defense Force or Defense Forces for their efficient work in apprehending those misguided robbers of the Rams supermarket. I went to the Rams supermarket on Saturday, and it was a very eerie feeling there. We learned as well that Rams in Nevis were attacked on Sunday. Was it Sunday? Yes. But those robbers were also apprehended. And we must give kudos to the police and the armed forces generally. Those are my observations in review for tonight, my Street Dog family. But you would recognize that the people in the country are desperate. See what we like. They are. And as I mentioned tonight, my thesis is titled Stop Blame Game, Start to Govern. And I submit, my Straight Dog family, if there is any commonality among the major players in this political dispensation under the Terrence Drew-led administration, it is their reluctance to admit that they have all fell short in every area of endeavor. After 1 year, without any real accomplishment, they are overwhelmed with the negative public evaluation and disapproval of their stewardship. In order to save face and given the many things that continue to go wrong, they constantly try to shift blame away from themselves by bringing attention to external causes or attempting to obscure their role in causing mayhem and misfortune in the land. Today, the government of the day has forced us to live in a culture where they remain motivated to avoid wrongs and quickly point their fingers at anyone but themselves whenever something goes wrong. Our country seems to have gone back to the dirty politics of yesteryear, when all that prevailed then was the politics of allegation and the blame game. And to many, that is so sad, because we turn that chapter especially when Team Unity came to office and transformed the politics of perception into the country, or in the country into the politics of performance. No matter what they said, in the first 5 years in particular, the Team Unity performed, especially in the area of its infrastructure development. Brand new cruise pier, brand new ferry terminal, brand new bus terminals, a reconfigured Old Road Bay, a resurfaced Island Main Road, traffic signals to improve the traffic management in the country, and pedestrian access or sidewalks for those who do not drive. And we were criticized back then when we were constructing sidewalks. Criticized. But I'm happy to see that they have come around, this government has come around to understand the importance of pedestrian access. But that was so refreshing to all, because for 7 years, which seemed like a long time, since we had not seen an opportunistic and selfish government like the Jew Labour administration, which will only retard the progress of St. Kitts and Nevis. Coming out of a pandemic for nigh 3 years, COVID-19 would have taught us, or should have taught us, and reinforced what we should have already known, is that the world we all live in is one big village. The requirement of the hour is for a stable government of national unity in the best interests of the Federation's development. How we can ever get the electorate to come to grips with another government of national unity, I confess, would be a Himalayan task, but it's not beyond us. Because our current leaders govern in a deliberately polarizing manner. So our politics are likely to become more confrontational and increasingly divided. In the policy arena, they tout the chorus about building a sustainable island state. But that can only happen when our leaders start to preach the politics of togetherness, the politics of inclusion, the politics that put the people first and recognize that we are all equal partners in the project to make St. Kitts and Nevis an enviable federation that satisfies the needs of the present without sacrificing the needs of our future generations. With the outcomes of the 2022 general elections, victimization, crime, and poor leadership have created many challenges. Government should play a role in keeping the country safe and secure, ensuring food security, strengthening the economy, protecting the environment, maintaining infrastructure, ensuring access to health care, eradicating poverty, or helping people to get out of poverty. It is therefore time to stop the blame game, time to start to govern. Amid national concerns over the coronavirus outbreak 3 years ago, the majority of us who lived through it can say that the Harris-led Team Unity administration did a very good job of effectively handling the threats to our public health in St. Kitts and Nevis. We may not have liked all the stipulations through the law, but I believe we must agree that the strategy of life first was a good one. But here comes Dr. Drew, who wants to disassociate himself from everything Team Unity did on Harris. But Drew does not understand that the duty of every government is to protect all of its people. They promised $500 minimum wage and to increase PAP to $1,500. But what we have seen is a clinical dismantling of the PAP and the peace program. Don't forget that. No wonder the crime and violence has once again become rampant. The poverty alleviation program was designed by Straight Talk Family as an investment in poverty reduction and the creation of growth through the economic participation of vulnerable groups. Social assistance was seen then and should be seen now not only as dealing with problems of human welfare, but also as a means of achieving equality of opportunity for all, irrespective of one's political persuasion. Not so with the Jew Labour administration. It came to office with a vendetta to get rid of Team Unity supporters of the program. And in so doing, their own supporters became casualties. There was a serious cut in the number of beneficiaries by Straight Dog Family. A serious cut in the number of beneficiaries on the program.
Standard eligibility criteria was households earning less than $3,000. That is the minimum eligibility criterion. And then we would have prioritized certain vulnerable groups in order to be able to ensure we target those who are most in need. So that would be seniors, persons with disabilities, the unemployed, and then the unemployed with children. Of course, that is a major factor, with the addition of unemployed and employed with children, because child poverty is a real thing. Children are a vulnerable group. So those conditions were applied. We've been able to service persons within those groups. I think to date, the PS has the numbers just in terms.
My Straight Talk Family, we must ask the question: how could this administration budget for an almost 50% reduction in those benefiting for years from PAP without the proper analysis, the proper assessment of all in the program? How could they? We asked the question, my Straight Talk Family, when they did this.
The budget, we would have had a budget to cover for this year about 4,600, just over 4,600 persons receiving this assistance. That's what would have been budgeted in 2023 budget. We know that was a significant cut to the number of persons who was receiving the $500 last year. But of course, we're trying to streamline our social assistance programs and reduce the level of dependency we have on these programs. And so that was the initial decision that was taken.
And my Straight Talk Family, that decision tells everyone that their approach to poverty reduction is nothing but absurd. I have tasted poverty, so I know it. And I will never let my people suffer from poverty, lack of medical care, and poor education, and remain quiet in this country. St. Kitts Nevis is in a mess. That much is now clear. But we have a leader who is so lost, so confused, so helpless, and so weak. Someone said that Jew is asleep. A leader who just makes up stuff and says anything that comes to his mind, as if he wants to replace history with his lies. Dr. Jew's disregard for facts serves his political agenda of constant, remorseless attacks and negativity in relation to his opponents. Jew confuses everyone each time he speaks and causes the country to be in a state of confusion. He talks rapidly and continuously in a foolish or incomprehensible way. His latest blunder or embarrassing gaffe was about the development bank and averting, my words, averting a run on the bank by Straight Dog family. It's really unbelievable when you heard him say this.
The bank was on the verge of collapse. I couldn't say that to the country for people to lose confidence and run on the bank and basically sink the bank. That would have been the worst scenario. I had to put the country's interest above immediate political interest or any other interest. The immediate interest was let us save Development Bank.
What can we say about that nonsense being peddled? A run on the bank is a situation, or a run on any bank for that matter, is a situation in which many customers withdraw their funds from that bank at the same time, in simple parlance, simple language. And this can happen when customers lose confidence in the bank's ability to operate or pay back their deposits. A run on the bank can create a liquidity crisis for the bank and potentially lead to its failure. But Development Bank have no depositors. Development Bank don't have depositors of money like National Bank, Republic Bank, the Bank of Nevis, to call a few. Or we call the Bank of Commerce. That was the last time we had a run on any bank in St. Kitts and Nevis. Development Bank got loan financing from the Caribbean Development Bank, the Social Security Board, and the SIDF. It borrows at an interest rate, then on-lends at a higher rate to cover that interest rate, of course, its administrative costs and other internal general costs. Like any other lending institution, I believe, it would have bad debts, or as some in the sector call it, non-performing loans. The Development Bank consolidated its loans from the Social Security Board in 2016. From 2009, for example, the $50 million loan under the last Labour administration to fund the Civil Service Home Mortgage Scheme and other loans under the Labour administration by Straight Dog family.
The Development Bank owes Social Security $119 million, $921,959.78. 119 million, almost 120 million, owed to the Social Security. None of this money was borrowed under the new administration. This is what we meant.
My Straight Dog family, so disingenuous is Dr. Jew. in trying to apportion the borrowing of the $120 million to the last administration. And I recall the Team Unity administration borrowing, I think it was $30 million. I stand to be corrected, to finance the second tranche of the Fresh Start program. So over $90 million were borrowed by the Development Bank under the former Labour administration. Sam Conda was Minister of Social Security for over 10 years, and I stand to be corrected there as well. And he must remember the $50 million loan granted by the Social Security Board to the Development Bank to facilitate the building of homes for 350 families under the Civil Service Home Mortgage Scheme launched in 2009 at Wigley Avenue over there in the village. And this was found in the archives dated 2009 from the Communications Unit, the Office of the Prime Minister. And it reads, just under 350 families have benefited from close to $50 million to build their homes under the Civil Service Home Mortgage Scheme. St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Denzel Llewellyn Douglas, has disclosed. And it goes on, my straight dog family. But under the Labour Party administration of 20 years, millions of dollars were disbursed in student loans that were financed by the Social Security Board. Things were so bad, according to Drew. Yet just recently, he reduced the interest on those loans at the bank, my straight dog family. Not me, he did. My straight dog family.
Nationals of St. Kitts and Nevis with existing student loans with the Development Bank of St. Kitts and Nevis are being added to the government's graduate finance project and will now see the interest rate on their loans reduced to 5% per annum. This according to Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Honorable Dr. Terence Drew, during his press conference with Cabinet Ministers on Thursday.
I want to announce today that come June 1st, existing student loans in the Development Bank will now be reduced to 5%. I think when we made the first announcement, I said we are going to come back and announce something else. And so students who are presently paying at 9%, from the 1st of June, you are encouraged to go to the Development Bank and have your interest reduced.
Is Dr. Drew telling the country that all these student loans as well were disbursed under Team Unity? If he's honest, if he's transparent, release the financial statements to the public. It's public business. Release them. And also tell the country how much money does NHC, the National Housing Corporation, owe to the Social Security Board? Tell us that. Tell us as well, Dr. Drew, if the $130 million owed by Christopher Harbour is something we should collect, or something you still want to forgive. These are pertinent questions, and stop politicking with the country's business. 1 year in office, and this Jew administration have not addressed the bread and butter issues that are affecting the people, and in particular the poor ones, the poor people in this country, my street dog family. 1 year. My street dog family, more than ever, we need politicians who think about the poor people. And that's the view on the streets, my street dog family. That's the view out there.
So the politicians need to think about the poor people. We put you there to serve.
You need to think about the poor people, Dr. Joe. So while you and your government ministers gloat and travel all over the world, and we congratulate Minister Samal on his travels for his celebration. But while the ministers gloat and travel all over the world, many here in St. Kitts and Nevis see only doom and gloom as we have a talk plenty but do nothing government. Blame gaming has become a ritual with Jew and his cabinet, who shift accountability or accuse another of actions they clearly had nothing to do with. But that strategy is bound to fail. So take my advice, Dr. Jew. Stop the blame game and start to govern. That's my story tonight, and I am not going to change it. I will open the lines now and entertain your calls and your emails. Before I do so, which I will in a few seconds, I always like to implore you to respect others. And of course, to achieve that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to be fair to all concerned, and let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let us, in the process, my Straight Dog family, ensure that the things you say and or do will be beneficial to all concerned. And in the process of doing and or saying those things, let us strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. With that said, I go to the lines, my Straight Dog family, at 2 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour, and say, good night, caller, you live. Hello, caller.
Good night, Mr. Patel.
Good night. That sounds like my brother, the Bible man. How are you tonight?
How are you, sir?
I am peaceful. Yourself?
Now, it is so wonderful what the Lord has done. And Mr. Patel, people must understand it is God's whole world. And what God said, it must come to pass.
True.
I am telling you tonight, my brother, let people read 146 Psalms. 146 Psalms. Let people read verse 9. I am reading from Matthew chapter 24. And Jesus was talking to his disciples. And he told them, and Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed, let no man deceive you. And my brother, when you read the word of God,
Hello, caller. Okay, we seem to have lost that caller. Let's go to the other line and thank this caller for holding. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
What's up, my beloved brother? Greetings in the name of our great African ancestors, especially Queen Nzinga and King Garvey. Blessed evening, my beloved African brother. How are you all, the Amiga and Owali? I know things ain't good, but I just want to hear it from you, brother.
In spite of all, we're peaceful, as the country's a little on edge. Some people are getting desperate or even over desperate as well. But we are keeping hope alive.
Yes, beloved. See, we had an excellent administration led by Dr. Harris. And Sean and Mark and their ill advisors mash it up, beloved. I got to give Dr. Harris a little thing to, man. He should have never go down that road. But let's move forward, beloved. It don't happen, and let's say that nothing like that happen again. After we toil for years to get rid of that evil empire, led by the boy from St. Paul's. And people, man, it still hurt, beloved, still hurt. But it don't happen. We just got to just move on and don't let anything happen like that again. And let me say, beloved, our people, African people, in Liamega and Owal, especially those at the bottom of the economic ladder, my beloved sisters and brothers, especially the young people. You don't look around and see and hear what is happening with that evil empire misled by that boy from Monkey Hill. Come on, they only care about the damn self, beloved brothers and sisters. They only care about themselves. I talk about it. They don't have no love for poor African, financially poor African people. No one. They don't care. If they care, beloved, and have love for their people, bring them up the economic ladder. The first order of the day should be when they go in that National Assembly, should have put on the table, brother, that the minimum wage must increase to $13 per hour. $13 per hour minimum wage. But no, that mulatto boy who have no love because he was brought up with as we say, silver spoon or golden spoon. But his Caucasian father, his mother wasn't that poor either, because we went to high school, past year senior high school together in the 70s. She's about a year or two older than I am, but that's for another time. So he don't know poverty, and he don't give a damn about financially poor African people, talking about 85%. What about those who make $300 and something per week? How they gonna manage? I'm totally against criminality, but when you got your children, your wife, your girlfriend, feed, and nothing there, and you see your children them crying, starvation. What you gonna do? You're gonna go and do whatsoever is needed to be done. I'm not like I say, I'm totally against criminality. But a hungry man is an angry man. A hungry woman is an angry woman. They must do that, man. And let me say, people, rise up. Rise up from your sleep and slumber. And do the right thing, man. Demonstrate against this evil empire. Are you afraid? Are you afraid? Our ancestors, if our ancestors were afraid, we still will have been on plantation in chains. So, our ancestors, we cannot go to the same way. And it's even worse that people in black faces who are doing this to people who look like them. But you see, a black face oppressor, down pressure, is worse than any other race because you're enslaving people who look like you. And it's worse. I mean, there's nothing for that barbarism that happened to us, starting with the Arabs coming down to the Caucasian Christians. But when your own people do things to you, brother, it's so sad. Brother, thanks again for hearing me. Keep up the great works. Pan-Africanism, my purpose. One love, my beloved brother.
Yeah, one love, my brother. Hope all is well in New York. Yeah. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, I want to thank you for holding your life.
Mr. Patrick?
Oh, yes, the Bible man. I'm happy you got back. You seem to have wanted some energy. Are you there? Are you there, the Bible man? Okay, we seem to be having some difficulty with that call.
You hear me?
I'm hearing you now. Go ahead.
Yeah. Jesus was talking to his disciples and telling them, take heed that no man deceive you. It's a many shall come in my name and say, I am Christ. And if Jesus was saying that, and he turned around and said, put no confidence in man. It's better to put confidence in the Lord and put confidence in him. It's better. He's been warning all along. God, you must come unto me. All in your labor and heavily, and I will give you rest.
Yes.
So, my brother, I am saying tonight that people must put their confidence in God and God alone. Man is going to fool you. Man is going to tell you all kind of things. But Jesus will never fool you. Mr. President, I am not going no further than this. Have a pleasant night. See you.
Have a pleasant night, my dear brother. And Bible man, I'm happy you got back. Let's go back to the lines. My Street Dog family. Caller, you live. Hello, caller.
Mr. Straight Talk, good evening.
How is Mr. Straight Talk from
Mr. Straight Talk, I'm okay so far, so good. And you?
I am peaceful. I'm peaceful. Pennsylvania, is it? I'm lost here.
You what?
Pennsylvania. I'm
yes,
in the house. Philadelphia in the house. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
How are you, my brother? How are you, my brother?
I know what happened. The last time you was here in a Texas Queen, so now you're here in a St. Louis Queen. So which one of them is the Queen?
They're all queens.
It's all right, man. It's good. It's good. It's a blessing.
Yes.
It's a blessing to hear you tonight.
Yes,
You understand?
likewise.
You're doing a wonderful job, and I just wanted to do what you got to do. Because, hey, without you, there's no Straight Talk, and without us, there's no you. So all of us need each other.
True. That is so true.
Mr. Straight Talk, one of our biggest fans come from England, and he's in St. Kitts. I don't know his name, but I just found out there last week that he's somewhere around Phillips, is the area there.
Okay.
They tell me his name, but I forget. But that man listens to you all the time from England. So,
Okay.
so I guess he's listening to that. This is Ellis' friend, Mr. UK resident.
Okay.
So I'm just saying good night to you and good night to Ellis. Mr. Straight Talk, what's going on with those smart houses?
Well, we heard that the models would be built. The Minister of Housing, Jeffrey, said they'll be air-conditioned and fully furnished. So we are just waiting.
Yeah, I recognize that smart. You know what happened just last week? They were to a smart car. We're getting it ready to drive, and the battery dead in the keys. So we call a mechanic all the way in Minnesota to let them know what's going on with the car. He said, disconnect the battery, and the car going to start. So we disconnect the battery, Mr. Straight Talk, and when we put it back on, we get in the car and the alarm is on. No care what we do, I can't get off the alarm. So when the mechanic called no one said what to do, we did it.
Okay.
When we tell him he's not working, he said, look, you got the electronic problem. You know that expensive car to sleep on the road? Because he said, look, I can't do no better. I'm going to leave it here. So that's the kind of smart house we're going to have in St. Going to give trouble.
Well, we hope they will stand the 200-year cycle storm, as they said as well. Yeah.
Well, you see what's that from? Because everybody's talking about technology. Understand? So I just want to let you know, Mr. Smart Straight Talk, that you is a Smart Straight Talk. So Texas Queen, we love you. St. Louis Queen, we love you.
Yes, we love them all.
Understand? And this is my brother from another mother.
Yes.
So we're going to catch up together. Mr. Straight Talk, we love you. God bless you. Until we meet again, see you when I see you. Be good.
See you when I see you as well, my dear brother. From another mother over there in Philadelphia, we go back to the lines. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Liburd. How art thou?
I am peaceful, my dear brother. Thank you for holding.
Oh, well, I've got to hold him and listen to people at the same time. But back to our good Prime Minister, who mentioned that there's some approximately $120 billion owed by Development Bank to the Social Security.
Yep.
I believe that Social Security has a board. And they would have to get up and approve any kind of loans. Obviously, it's not going to be one big loan. It will be a compilation of loans over a period of time. But what the Prime Minister is also saying by that is that the Social Security Board is also compliant to whatever he's accusing, rascality he's accusing the staff of the Development Bank of being involved in.
True.
Because Development Bank can't go down with their guns and hold up Social Security and take away $120 million. The loan had to be justified for the board to approve it and pass it to Development Bank. So this whole thing is talk about rascality and that kind of thing, like impressions, I must say, of rascality. Don't seem to make any sense to me. Maybe I'm a bit dumb.
No,
excuse me for that.
And the Development Bank has a board as well.
That is true. So the boards all have
rascals.
Some hand in the whole thing. Yes. Not only that, but I get the impression from listening to the good Prime Minister is that the government is now helping out to pay back Social Security.
Yeah.
In other words, he too then becomes compliant in the whole thing. If there was rascality and he paying for rascality, that means he's a rascal too. Don't you follow me?
Certainly.
But he's the Minister of Finance.
It's logical.
If there's thievery and you're paying for the thievery,
yes,
the thief ain't too.
And he reduces the interest rate in the process.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
So it makes it more difficult for the development bank to get the necessary money to pay back the loan more speedily.
Oh yes.
But he's the expert of everything. I just say everything is a smart this, smart that.
Smart this.
He got a smart mouth. Have a good night.
I like that one. Thank you very much. Yes, I didn't even think about that. Yes, certainly. He has a smart mouth. He's a leader who just seems to make up stuff and says anything that comes to his mind and his mouth, as if he wants to replace history with lies. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Eternal love and greeting in honor and dignity.
Greetings, my brother. My brother Ras.
Blessed night to you, brother Patches. How you night going?
Peaceful, Ras. And yours?
Well, me at the shores of this Queen City here, relaxing and nice, flipping my mouth here, watching the mystic from the ends of Bangor, looking over at the shores of, as they call, Southeast Peninsula. So, make give thanks.
Are you in a designated area? Because I understand Nevis don't have that.
No, I don't be in a designated area. I smoke ganja in them. Anyway, me feel in the meditation, I smoke ganja freely. In St. Kitts and Nevis. Me free of saying that. Me not fear to say that, so me give thanks. And we say, tell the police and the army man them, leave the herb alone. Leave it alone and leave the people that are using the herb. Because if you all are serious about industry, no trouble no one with the herb. Just guide our people. We're going to know how to deal with things. We all need is proper consultation around here, where the judge indicates and the judgment of 2019, where a farm administration didn't follow, and this whole crooked one ain't following. Because it's up to now they still emphasize the rights of our humanity around here. And we have a problem around here with that aspect. I'd like to say good night to your listeners on your farm where you have called Facebook and Facebook and YouTube. Now, we like to indicate to this statement you outline in your deliverance and your briefs. I just say your observation and then you outline what you're considering to, as say, stop blaming and do what is necessary, as you say, to govern, to go work for the people. Well, we say number one, when I see this administration coming to office, I don't know, they ain't ready for the standard of what the people them need. So me don't have to give them a quote. It in 3 months of where the Prime Minister, who is now in say, by a year they will have investment coming here to have work employing toward the industry where it come to. So up to now, every year they have confined, and up to now we don't see nothing dramatic come to the people them. But we see things applying to these ministers and the cabal of who they call their friends and their family. Well, we say it's time now we change that magnitude, because you outline some things from the Social Security leverage towards Development Bank. And we would like to outline something on the addition to with Social Security. So long we have seen on the former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Dr. Denzel Douglas, when he said boldly that initiative that they take with the Social Security Fund and went into and make it be as from an investment we law as now called the Beacon Height is not even generating no income to our revenue or even our capacity within the economical development around here. So if I'm wrong, tell me. I would like you to tell me that tonight, Brother Patrice.
Well, the project didn't really get off to the start and yield the results that were expected or anticipated. I've seen I've seen a request for proposals now. Seem to be about getting that program or project off the ground again. So I will, in a long-winded way, yes, you're right.
It's a shame because if you have the initiative like this, you have outlined and they was done given full guaranteed that this will be a benefactor for our economical investment, and not even one concept has been delivered in that format You don't think people should be going to prison to this day? Well, if you come and see the police and the army personnel, you know, but we like to come and see police and the army personnel them to take these initiatives now that the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis instead of seeing all this criminality taken by these crooks we call politicians here. And it's still applying. Because we're not waiting for no DPP. All of them are drink and laugh up with these methods. I tell you already, and I can say this again here. St. Kitts and Nevis is controlled by the Freemason, not by no politician alone. So the people them in the business sector are part of this corruption right now. You hear what I mean? To say so, and you know that too, because you work under these kind of initiation too. But I'm just telling you again, I hope you're not a part of those Mason fellas, because they don't have no good for the common man and woman on here. They're not having any good for our common man and woman on here. It's time now we let our people to have a value of dignity and courage and loyalty to one another, and not party politics on here. It's formulating our people strive towards the young generation. That's why you can't see our youth and behaving properly. They must continue behaving like that because it's what they're seeing on the farmers. What they're seeing on the farm is what they're inlining with. So they're creating that avenue for the youth them to say, oh, you can't have gone so, but you, not you in particular, talking about the context of these politicians around here. They are doing this boldly and the game really walking away and saying that you're untouchable. I mean, like to say, no, you're not untouchable here, no, you know. It's time now we do our research, start reading the laws them around here. Because we think what the man in playing is about policy and regulation, it's not no law. It's policy and regulation these people is in playing. Even I'm not under the farm administration. I went into a cookie act called COVID-19, where these cooks from Europe and America come blind and calling a world domination to the world economical stage. And watch how we people on to this day still facing on the downturn and working harder than any people in this world. When we combine our strength together, we don't own the wealth, but we work to contain the wealth. But it's not owned by I and the people. Them. So I like to say, Brother Patrick, let's have a joyous night with the love of the Almighty, because the Creator is higher than any man or woman in the face of creation. That's why I'm not going to fear none of these people here. I respect people and the same ways. Because we not come here to be no rat race here, but we come here to deliver people from these crookedness that are going on here. So let the love of the Almighty bless our people wisely, and you can continue the truth shining brighter than in the morning star. Protect and keep you on your journey safe. You have more ganja anywhere we go in this world too. So fear up your people, feet up, love your brother Patrick, guidance.
Love you, Ras Isle, and be careful and be wise as per usual. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you live.
Mr. Chetak.
So, yes, my dear brother.
Listen, I just hear that Mr. Smartmo's Prime Minister was on WinFM, and he says that they found water in Care and they had found 100 and some. He called a love thing, but now we said it up to millions of gallons. Can you find that thing and play it? Because I ain't hear nothing coming out of that. I said he just said that he was on WinFM. Sorry to call back, but I hear it from NZIZ report. So do what you can do. Let me hear it. Thank you. Bless you.
I will see if I can find that soundbite. I do have the minister saying he was shock water. Not certain if I have that. I heard the Prime Minister saying that nonetheless. Good night, Mr. Liburd reads this email. And just Ras Aya raised the issue of the Beacon Heights. And I recall as well that the Beacon Heights project awarded an exclusive marketing contract to one man back then who never ever sold a house and made some money from that. Good night, Mr. Liburd. Reads this email. We're happy to see more. We have to see some water over there for people in Cairn, but this thing feel like a shakedown. How they just stop, drill, and look like everything pack up? If it is true, they're asking for money for another well. How they gone so far and this one, the drilling not even finished yet? And how are they getting paid? Are they being paid to drill a hole in the ground? Are they being paid for how much water they find? And how deep should a well be for how much water it produces? We try to keep up, but too much unknowns, and not because we want water, people. Well, because we want water, beg your pardon. People should not be allowed to shake us down like that, reads this email. And that's the issue with this administration and its new paradigm of it's a new and fundamental way of transparency that they are practicing. Dr. Joe, you have the Federation confused with your half-truth cock and bull story. The false impression you are given to the unsuspected public is that all the millions of dollars you claim Team Unity borrowed from Social Security was by itself, accumulated over the years by Harris. And I take exception with you on that. Why are you not telling us how much of those millions was rolled over from your Labour Party government under Douglas? In 2015, when Harris and Team Unity took over, why are you hiding that amount from us, Dr. Joe, and want us to believe that previous Labour administrations never borrowed from and owed Social Security millions? Well, Dr. Joe, maybe you live in a silo or a vacuum and don't hear or listen to Dwyer and Sam. These namby-pamby journalists are so timid of you. Read this email. Let's go to the lines. It's 9:30. Caller, I want to thank you for holding. You're live.
Okay. Good evening, Patches.
Good evening, my dear brother. How is the volcano?
Oh, well, the volcano is a bit. I throw some ice in the volcano, so that's the reason why the heat cool down.
That's a lot of ice you throw, man.
Yes, man. Well, anyway, first of all, again, I got to shout up a few friends I got here. They're ardent listeners. Mm-hmm. And they know them by the initials. VGSOSRPS and TG and SHA. They all are listening. Now, let me start first, Patches, with the crime. I think the justice system here is making a mark of the crime in the country. And according to the behavior of the penalty that they're giving to these people here, I would say, I would let some of the crime were happening is because of how they act. Now you're going to tell me one of the guys, one of them 5 guys look like they're moving in 5 to rob Rams and other people. One of them commit a crime in June. A crime, rob Rams in June, and he get bail and was out on the street and was able to go back again in August. What I'm telling people, they ain't serious about crime around here. They're only talking. But I will say kudos to the police and the army men them who move when they get the call and they were able to apprehend them. According to the news, one of them in Nevis who tried to rob Rams yesterday. He escaped, so one is at large and they catch the other 4. So kudos to the army and the policemen. Now let me say something about this Taliban boy here who trained in Cuba to be a communist-minded person. He's not a loving person. That man Jew. Now, that is, if me and you are in business, I am your business in partner. I mean your partner in business. I know I hire Mr. Straight Talk to come put down 5 doors on my house. And he give me a cost and I pay down the money to him. And up to now, Mr. Straight Talk can put on no door. But he got me money. And you understand, well then, I don't put Mr. Straight Talk in the hands of the law. Will you hire Mr. Straight Talk again to go put on doors on your house and you see what Mr. Straight Talk do me? No. Nobody sensible will do that. Saying that to say this why you name this Taliban man here from Monkey Hill, he see what Bede do up to the nearest administration with the well them where he promised to dig up there. And he not dig none. And he get the money. And Mark went the own mouth said, $2 million don't pay them to Bede, and up to now, not a stroke up there do for water. So this one down, he gonna take Bede and say he did well, carry on. But they got to cap it. He said, unexpected, whatever he said, it's unexpected. Talking about the well, he used the word unexpected. I can't remember the other word he used behind that. Well, why should he say, why should he give Bede kudos that they did well, but then he still got to wait for the international people them to test the water to see if it's potable water. The water is not potable where it is. Otherwise, Bede wanted to cap it. They would, since it's potable, they would not have to go to no scientists and nothing to test it. Our local water engineer them here could have tested that. And then it will all gone clear. They get the green light to do that. But you see, he's so vindictive and believe everything. Every time he open his mouth, he must look back and accuse Team Unity of doing. He lie them what he talking about. I warning him, The Lord do not like a lying tongue. The Lord do not like it. And if you don't stop tell lie to people, he could tell lie to himself. The Lord is going to deal with him. Just look how the Lord will deal with anybody when he's ready to deal with all who do wrong and disobey. That man don't know how to run no country. He promised and he campaign trail that he can increase the PAP money from 500 to 15. Increase it, he decrease it, take it away, and cause a lot of people to be starving, hungry in this country. That $500 what people used to get to help them buy their little medication, pay the little water bill and the light bill, and whatever else they had to do with it. I mean, there were some people who cheated the system, and they should have been removed long time, but they did not get in there on their own. It's people who are in charge of registering people who did that. But come back to it, he take away the $500, and you know what he calls in his country patches? I'm sorry to say it. A lot of people, especially women, gone to do things that they never planned in life to do, just to survive. Just to survive, because the Taliban man don't love people, he don't love kitty-shans. None. And then he said country in red, and he taking up the money. As you wink, they go away. Let's country in red. Where they paying the money for? Let the rusty boy, who call himself what do you call him there? The one who have the social security of the payment. Anyway, you know what I mean? The boy get working. Let he see who cheating and robbing the treasury and wasting the treasury money by going from plane every week. As you wink, they go away. So when you talk about he wouldn't study and see anybody rob the treasury. Because he could bang his chest because he afraid nobody. Let you look at that. Clean your yard before you go clean somebody else's yard, Wilkin. You pay them, are you taking advantage of the treasury money by traveling and then bringing back nothing? Only thing they do, they're going to sign that foolishness that people going to tell you, you're here running the country. What you can do and what you cannot do. That is what they're doing, then bringing back nothing. You say that load of investors calling him in the night, telling him that he will want the government change for them to come invest. And up to now, not one investor coming here to nothing. None of them. So what do you think he's fooling? I want him to stop tell lies, brother. Anyway, Patches, if I get more time, I'll come back and say something else.
Thank you very much, my dear brother. Just to be factual, though, right? I will not subscribe that Garth Wilkin robbed any institution of any money. In fact, he actually made his social security payments after the time prescribed by the law. That is exactly what happened. There's some late payments of Social Security, and it's in this context that her lordship or her ladyship, I think that's the right term, opined that a Social Security payment after the time prescribed by the legislation constitutes a criminal offense, whether or not the law is strictly enforced. So, in fact, he did submit his payments in a tardy way. For example, after 12 months in one case, after 5 months in another case, and the Act provides that any insured person or employer who fails to pay at or within the time prescribed by or for the purpose of any contribution which he is liable under the Act to pay shall for each such failure be liable on summary conviction to a fine not exceeding $200 or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 6 months. So let us be wary in terms of the allegations that's been purported here in terms of robbing the Social Security. If I heard that term, I do not subscribe to it. I believe the facts are there that Garth Lucien Wilkin paid Social Security or made his Social Security payments, albeit after the time prescribed by the legislation, and that in itself constitutes a criminal offense, whether or not the law is strictly enforced. And this is the opinion of her ladyship, Tamara, is it Tamara? Tamara Gill. So let us be accurate and talk straight, yes, but talk the things that are factual. Well, Dr. Jew reads this email. Sam and Dwyer. Sam and Dwyer will tell you that all the administrations, even when they were ministers in those governments, took advantage of Social Security. You can fool and mislead these so-called journalists around here, but you dare not fool the citizenry of St. Kitts and Nevis. Reads this email. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Patrice, good night.
My dear brother, jam down. Good night. How art thou?
Boy, I find it. Go buy too much balling and we streets, boy.
Yes.
Too much balling. The mommy and the papi balling too much.
Weeping and wailing.
Patrice, tonight we want to deal with the hospital. But first, we must congratulate the dream team. Those netball girls in 73 and 78. Oh, they had a display in basket. You were like the only years that James was coming down 4th Street. They had a whale of a time in St. Kitts. They deserve it. And every critician must remember the memories of these girls when they make us feel so proud. But you remember after the victory, it was the earthquake, you know. You remember that? 74. You remember the earthquake? But you remember the patching days? All sinners? You remember after the earthquake? That wind will pull us out of that. You understand? So we must remember with history. Criticians, we must remember with history.
Yes,
so patches are removed to the hospital. I could remember in 2015, the Unity Construct decide they're gonna fix drain fans in phases. Patches, you remember, right?
Yes.
And you all set out to come up with a plan, but you are waiting to collect some money from your peer. Catching do that, your peer, and moving to gain France. But it happens to the people, the future down the drain. Now, patches, this country is ready for your new hospital, you know. All the gain France one, it starts from the back phase. Where we used to go long time, the outpatient come back to Douglas state of the art. I never see a state of the art decaying so quick. And it's a young building that is in 30 years yet. And look at the state of it. No patches. This country when is guys trying to pull off to think it's people? We got in France, we got so much space in the back up there where you could put another hospital if you choose to. At this present time, the country ain't that. All we want from Taiwan is to just proper equipment to put in there to look after people. Vaccines. And then you come back to the nursing eatery and the laundry and the dead house, and you move to Douglas state of the art and fix it. When you are trying to pull off in a new hospital, then things they know what can think is people, you know, because too much hunger on the street. You see it every day. No person was in your constituency just yesterday, watching what you was doing up there to know. But Jeffrey got a right to go in a hotel to sleep, you know. Because I don't think he could face people who he fool. You don't think the years than me. I who talk to you about the problem and your street with the drains in 1995 and you set out and were correct in that. Look where we are. It's gone back to the same thing, patches. Mine constituents in East Bastille, they're going to be better than that. They cannot back the constituency looking like that. Willfully trying stuff in the drain and feel like government. No, but the minister must take the way, like how we were doing it. When it comes to the big drain patches, by the Tucker Clark school, primary school, it's a shame. But I know that we're waiting for the catch to spoon off in firstly. Because I know what's going to happen. I could see it. And I could feel it. I think something definitely wrong in the country. This only country that we had in 2015. Something wrong. Nobody is doing that. That is right now in the focus here where I am. Watching over the clock by Mr. King resident. Is a palm tree there about 4 years ago. The top knockoff. I know. That don't holler hard. Just waiting to dry out, to drop on some innocent person passing here. But I would like it to drop on the right person, you know, not the innocent people, you know, because they're playing Momo. Something wrong, patches. Definitely wrong. This is the thing which people mess up a good country for. When I see what's going on around Bastille, simple things a man could correct. Just keeping their fear to it. But everybody look like they want to be in business. They want to compete with TDT Ashford and them. Patches, you have a good night. This is Jam Down talking. And I'm here.
Have a good night, Jam Down. Always forthright, always to the point, not afraid to talk the truth. I don't really listen to Prime Minister or to the Prime Minister when he is being interviewed because I find he is just a fledgling politician saying things that just don't make sense. For him to say that for 7 years the country was at a standstill with no activity, that he had to come and rescue National Bank, Development Bank, and Social Security from bankruptcy is so laughable. And his jokes get even sweeter when he articulated that these financial institutions are now strong and viable once more. Dr. Joe, your waffle, talking and grandiloquent grandiloquent language amounts to empty rhetoric, I must tell you. That word just stumped me for a moment, I must tell you. My Street Dog family, let's go back to the lines. Caller, you are live. I thank you for holding.
Hello, Patrice. How are you?
I am peaceful, my dear. Yourself?
I'm okay. Concerning, I will say that I wouldn't say that Dr. Jew, I'm not really for them, you know. I wouldn't say that he don't like people. It's just that he don't have a clue how to run the country. He never been in government. He never been a minister. And those who he have there, they don't self have a clue. So he just going to show his party being out. He can't even wait for the 5 years of election to come that he could get out. I would not stop, say Paul Sauter had said, ruling a country is not like a piece of land you over. It's more to it than that. So Joe was outside there. He think it was easy. And all that he's saying, what he's saying is so untrue because not under Timothy Harris' watch. Right? Mr. Rogers inside there with him. And Mr. Rogers almost only had an ear inside there. Mr. Rogers don't even have a clue either. So all of them is just blind mice, see how they run. So I wouldn't say that he don't like people. It's just that he do not have a clue how to run a country. A country is not easy. Everything is on his shoulder. But he step outside and feel like all is well. He could take some advice from Dr. Douglas. That's all I could say. And you have a good rest at night until I speak to you on Thursday.
Have a good night as well. That seems to suggest, according to you, that he is incompetent, maybe a good word to describe his performance thus far. The title of tonight's episode is On Target, reads this email. One of the problems contributing to the lack of credible performance of the Jew administration is the fact that the entire administration, from prime minister to appointed senators, are still in politicking mode. They have failed to recognize that once elected to office, a new challenge emerges. For example, transition to governing mode. They have failed in this regard primarily because of the relative gross inexperience of 99% of the cabinet. The other 1%, former Prime Minister Douglas, appears to be not very helpful in mentoring them through this transition. Well, I believe from my information, they really want to see the back of Douglas. You know, as Joe said to someone, he's not going to walk in Douglas's shadow. So the sooner that Douglas goes, the better it will be for him. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Yes, good night, Patches.
Yeah, good night, sir.
As I in standby mode listening to all the comments from the calling audience, now is my time to interject with my 50 cents, if I may.
Yes.
Now, it's been a year now since the present administration take position in running the country. I don't think Dr. Drew is all what we said about him in that spirit. Yes, he had no experience in the government. And yes, he needs advice. But if he is listening and look at his backtrack to see and hear how people are crying, some will be for and some will be against. But it seems like majority are against. Well, what does that say about his advisors? I think he is looking bad because I don't think he's getting proper advice to manage this country. And he needs help from every angle. to make him look good. And for those reasons of the cry that the people having, he should fire all those advisors from around him and start fresh. Let us say we anticipate the maturity term. But if this is the way that he will continue with those around him, and they are not high energy, he will fail. Not he personally will fail, but he will fail because of those who are around him. So everywhere, he should look for the best and make a final decision. What should be in and what should be out. So far, there is no positivity, because if there were positivity, these talking and these crying would not be heard. Regardless of what, some will be for and some will be against. So, Dr. Joe, my advice is, look at those who sit around you. Because every leader wants to have leave a good legacy. And your track record doesn't look good. Not sound good. All because of those around you. Fire them. Just fire them and start a new, fresh slate. You still can do it. I believe you still can do it. But I am not, and I quote, I am not backing no party in St. Kitts. I am only backing my party, but I can do. So if you don't do it, I will do it. And if you need help to do it, I will help you to do it. But you got to fire those, because it's low energy around here, sir. With all due respect. Thank you.
Thank you
for hearing me.
Thank you for your intervention, my dear brother. And I do respect every opinion we do on the program. This email reads, my final email, I think it is. Is this? Yes, I think this is my final email that I'll read tonight, which, well, I have one after that, sorry, which goes something like this. Patches, I want to let Dr. Drew and his cabinet of misfits know that this country is not going to become a communist state where you cannot criticize the government and say what a bad job they are doing of running the country. I realize they want to stifle our freedom of speech and our right to speak out on things that are going wrong in this country. Since the year started, 2 programs have disappeared from our national station ZIZ without any explanation as to why. The latest one is Frank and Candid, which used to come on at 11 a.m. Monday to Friday. These were important programs for people to call into and air their views, opinions, and suggestions about things that were happening in the country. There is no such programs anymore, all because this government don't want us to talk about the bad job they are doing of running this country. We don't want a dictatorship government, so if they can't take criticism, they need to resign now. For we will not stop speaking out about the lousy job they are doing. A bunch of misfits, reads this email. At 6 or 4 before the 10 o'clock hour, perhaps do a few minutes after 10 o'clock since I started a little late. Good night, Patches, reads this email. I was hearing a new advisor is to be installed in national security, but rumor has it it's an old-time jazz brass member who played with you. I hear he's already on the ground, but nothing official. What the secrets here? Well, in fact, he was announced by the Prime Minister, Dr. Joe, that is Lionel Woosey Rollins, as the new national security advisor. So perhaps it passed you by. But it's the way these announcements are made, you know. They are made in such a casual way. You hear that this one is an advisor, and this one is an ambassador, and there's no formal announcements of these positions and high positions as well. But that's the way the Jew administration operates. And as we wind down tonight's programming, my Straight Talk family, I know that some of you may have joined me late. And we know you can go back and follow the program on YouTube, Straight Talk with Ian Patches Liburd, or on Facebook as well. But tonight we looked at the issue, our thesis, which was titled, Stop Blame Game, Start to Govern. Tonight we raise an issue as well about a contract for $5.8 million. It was given according to Dr. Drew. He didn't say it was awarded to Ashley Allers, but he gave the impression that Ashley Allers was the one who advanced the idea. And these things must be done properly, we say. And this is what Dr. Drew had to say, my Straight Talk family.
We have sent the fire truck, we have sent the water truck. We continue to send the fire truck, we continue to send the water truck. We have just signed a contract to purchase water storage tanks. So at least when the water truck goes, they have a larger receptacle to store the water. People are having serious challenges. I would also like to thank Mr. Ashley Allers, because he's the one who brought the idea of how we can help with the storage receptacles that we're going to launch just now. That took a little bit longer because I had to go through the procurement process and so forth for transparency and so forth. But that is another matter another aspect that we have brought to bear to deal with the issue in terms of getting larger receptacles. And when we have more water, those will be set up completely so that people can have proper storage.
He didn't say that Ashley Allers got the contract. He said he brought the idea, but he said the contract was awarded. But we know that that contract was awarded to Ashley Allers, and we know as well it's a $5.8 million contract. We understand to supply 1,000 tanks, but those must be very expensive water storage facilities. But we're following that story. We know he's telling a lie that there was a procurement process, but certainly not. There was no procurement process, because the fact, if there was a procurement process, then there should have been notice given in at least 2 newspapers of general circulation in the Federation for no less than 6 weeks before the day and time for the close of those bids. So Drew has to stop telling lies, my Straight Dog family. But as we wind down tonight's programming, as I said, we looked at our thesis tonight, which I titled Stop Blame Game, Start to Govern. And we, I believe, all concurred that under the Terence Drew-led administration, and I'm told that the daughter of Allers is manager over the contracts. She's a project manager situated in the Prime Minister's office. That's an interesting development, but we are going to follow that story nonetheless. But if there's any commonality among the major players in this political dispensation under the Terence Drew-led administration, it is their reluctance to admit that they have all fell short in every area of endeavor. After 1 year without any real accomplishment, they seem to be overwhelmed with the negative public evaluation and disapproval of their stewardship. In order to save face and given the many things that continue to go wrong, they constantly try to shift blame from themselves by bringing attention to external causes or attempting to obscure their role in causing mayhem and misfortune in the land. Our country seems to have gone back to the dirty politics of yesteryear, when all that prevailed then was the politics of allegation and the blame game, my straight dog family. And to many, that is so sad, because we thought we have turned that chapter when the team unity came to office and transformed the politics of perception in the country into the politics of performance. In the policy arena, they tout the chorus about building a sustainable island state. But that can only happen when our leaders start to preach politics of togetherness, politics of inclusion, politics that puts the people first and recognizes that we all are equal partners in the project to making St. Kitts and Nevis an enviable federation that satisfies the needs of the present without sacrificing the needs of our future generations. With the outcomes of the 2022 general elections, victimization, crime, and poor leadership have created challenges. Government should play a major role in keeping the country safe and secure, ensuring food security, strengthening the economy, protecting the environment, maintaining infrastructure, ensuring access to healthcare, eradicating poverty, or helping people to get out of poverty. It is therefore time to stop the blame game, start to govern. My straight dog family, a leader we have in Dr. Jew, who just makes up stuff and says anything that comes to his mind as if he wants to replace history with lies. Dr. Jew's disregard for facts serves his political agenda of constant remorseless attacks and negativity in relation to his opponents. Drew confuses everyone each time he speaks and causes the country to be in a state of confusion. He talks rapidly and continuously in a foolish or incomprehensible way. We heard his latest blunder or embarrassing gaffe about the development bank averting a run. Those are my words on the development bank, my straight dog family. Would you believe that, my straight dog family?
The bank was on the verge of collapse. I couldn't say that to the country for people to lose confidence and run on the bank and basically sink the bank. That would have been the worst scenario. I had to put the country's interest above immediate political interest or any other interest. The immediate interest was let us save Development Bank.
What nonsense. Development Bank is not a commercial bank. So how could you run on the bank in which it doesn't have customers who can withdraw, who have deposit funds and can withdraw such funds from the development bank at the same time? But my straight dog family, that's the kind of leader we have. My straight dog family. But things are so bad at Development Bank, yet Jew reduce the interest on those loans at the bank. 1 year in office, and this Jew administration has not addressed the bread and butter issues that are affecting the people of this country. My Straight Dog family, more than ever, we need politicians who think about poor people. The cost of living has left many people in a situation that can easily trap them, so they become involved with problems from which it would seem difficult to escape. The blame game has become a ritual with Jew and his cabinet, who shift accountability or accuse another of actions they clearly had nothing to do with. That strategy is bound to fail, and that's my advice to Dr. Jew and his team. Stop blame game, start to govern. That's my story tonight, my Straight Dog family, and I'm not going to change it. I'm just going to thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight. As always, I want to thank you, the callers, all those of you who listen via YouTube and or Facebook. Remember, all of you are the ones who make Straight Talk, and I say a big, big thank you. We are going to connect on Monday. Listen to this carefully, my Straight Talk family. We are going to connect on Monday for our next edition of Straight Talk. We will take a sabbatical on Thursday for reasons beyond my control. But until we connect on Monday, and yes, I'm correct this time, until we connect on Monday, be good to yourselves and to all whom you meet. And remember, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you must believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for taking you through the night and for the morning light. My Straight Dog family, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you must believe. So until we connect on Monday, be good to yourselves and to all whom you meet. And my Straight Dog family, keep moving on. Bye-bye. Until we connect on Monday. Have yourself the best of what's left of tonight.
The morning, I thank God for the morning light. Give him thanks and praises for taking me safely through the night. For the rest of food and loving care, and for